Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the final position paper. This will be especially helpful if you are in D block because I was going to give you guys this information right before the fire drill yesterday. Um, and so we didn't get to go over it in class. But the final portion of your project is to create a one-page position paper. The purpose of this is basically to summarize all of the work that you did to create your model so that your classmates can easily kind of follow along with what you did. And we're going to use this to have a discussion about the topic at hand, probably on Thursday of this week. So in this video, I'm going to be talking through the requirements for the paper and showing you the two model position papers that I put together. So each of these position papers would get full credit. I essentially created one that's like if you just want to meet the requirements of the project, you can definitely do something like this. And then I put together another one that's if you wanted to create something for your portfolio. So both of these formats is totally valid. They would both get full credit. So it's your choice to figure out if you want to do either of these or do your own thing. I encourage you to take control of this project and make it into your own. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, email, or just stop by our room, and I'm happy to chat. So, in terms of the requirements for this assignment, they are listed in page 13 of your packet here. The main, the most important thing is that for your position paper, you need to clearly choose a side of the issue. Right, we're talking about Rhode Island FC borrowing bonds, or borrowing money through bonds to pay for the construction of the stadium, and we're trying to figure out if they will generate enough tax revenue to be able to pay back those bonds. So in your position paper, it should be very clear whether you think they will raise enough money to pay that back the bonds or they will not. Right? It's really important that you clearly choose one side or the other. Other than that, make sure that you have all of these requirements somewhere on your position paper. These are all things that come straight out of the packet. So if you are up to date, if you've been following along with each step, you have all of this information already. Um, and the most important part is that you explain how your model justifies the position that you take. Right, so I'm essentially looking for three things, and if you look at the rubric, this reflects that you, one, need to clearly choose a position. Two, you need to include all of the requirements here. And three, you need to explain why your model justifies your chosen claim. In terms of the requirements, I'm going to make two changes. And I've talked about these in class, but just to make sure that we're all clear on them, I'll go over them again. So, first of all, for your costs, I said breakdown here. I don't think you actually need to break down all of the costs. I'm totally okay if you just do a summary, right? Just what I would recommend doing is saying what your total costs are, and then maybe if you want to talk about if there's any values you had that were significantly different than like the ranges that I originally suggested, or if you have any other commentary on the costs that you put, feel free to put it there, but I said breakdown, you do not need to include all of them. And in the sake of time, we're also going to eliminate the limitation section. We'll still be talking about this, but we'll be doing it as part of the discussion on Thursday, so it does not need to be part of your submission. It does not need to be part of your position paper. Um, so what your position paper does need to contain, and what I'm going to go through now is I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show what the requirement is here, and I'm going to show you where it is in each of these models. So you can kind of see when I'm going through the requirements, what I'm looking for. So the first requirement, that's the demand equation. And in the first position paper, that's labeled right here. I say demand function here, function equation, you can use either of those. And then for this one, I included it in this paragraph here. Creates the demand equation. Yep. You also need to include, again, a summary of costs. So on this first model, I included that here. In the second model, I included that down here. Um, for the revenue equation, included that there. And then down here, I put it here. For the profit function, put that here. And then on this one, it is down here. And then a graph of the profit function with the zeros and vertex labeled. So I'm saying here, feel free to do that as a Desmo screenshot, or you're also welcome to hand draw it, whatever you think is the best way to represent this. So here is the graph on this one, and here is the same graph down there. And the vertex is labeled on each of these. If you'll notice, I don't have the zeros labeled, and that's because my profit function doesn't have real zeros, right? This is one of the ones that we were talking about where the entire profit function is below the x-axis, which means that our solutions are imaginary numbers. And so rather than labeling them on the graph, I have them shown here, saying these are the solutions, these are our zeros, but we can't show them on the graph because they are irrational. So if you have rational solutions, you're going to want to label them on your graph, but because mine are irrational, I'm just kind of putting the graph and telling you what the imaginary zeros are. And then profit maximizing ticket price, that is here. And down here, wait, hold on. Right here. It's the maximum ticket price. And then finally, the calculation of the tax revenue, right? The calculation of the value we actually care about. Put that in this table. And I put that in this paragraph here. Okay. And then the limitations we crossed out. So if you're looking at these position papers, you don't need any of this, right? That's not necessary. And same with this paragraph here. We're deciding to cut that out for the sake of time, so don't worry about the limitations, but make sure you are including the reasoning. So the reasoning that explains why your model justifies your chosen stance, that is this paragraph here. You say the model shows that Rhode Island FC will pay $3,000 in tax revenue over 30 years. That is less than the 54 million that the government borrowed. So that's why the model shows that the team is not going to generate enough tax revenue, and this was not a good public investment. So with this project, as long as you submit something that has all of that information visibly accessible so that I can find it all, you'll get full credit. Please feel free to reach out to me via email or come and talk to me on Monday if you have any questions. But otherwise, I recommend that you guys at least start thinking about this over the weekend. You will have time in class Monday and Tuesday to work on it, or Monday or Tuesday, depending on what block you're in. But you'll still probably make your lives easier by starting it sooner.